Welcome to Drum Corps Central, a podcast. I'm a 13-year-old drum corps superfan who loves all forms of the marching arts. Thanks for watching the podcast today. There will be an almost daily episode of this podcast recapping the previous night's drum corps scores and looking ahead. Today is Sunday, June 24th, and last night we had the biggest show day of the year so far, 3 shows across the Midwest and out west in California. So today we're going to recap everything from last night, including also a DCA show in Pennsylvania, and then we are going to look ahead at 2 shows tonight in Michigan City, Indiana, and in Sacramento, California. So let's get started. So first up, let's take a look at scores from last night in Stanford, California, DCI West. So first, open class scores. Blue Devils B, they continue to lead Vanguard Cadets 56.1 to 54.55 last night. And Blue Devils C rounded out open class competition with a 37.75 in third place. And on the world class side, Santa Clara Vanguard, first time since 2007 that they defeated the Blue Devils in a DCI competition, 72.7 Vanguard score. The Blue Devils get a 72.1. Vanguard trailed by 0.6 on Friday night. They now lead by 0.6 after last night's show. The Blue Knights were third with a 67.05. The Mandarins fourth, 64.75. The Academy finished fifth with a 63.2. And the Troopers were sixth with a 60.1. Now, in terms of these scores, I watched them live on Flow Marching last night. And in terms of what I thought of them, Vanguard, they got the new uniforms. Last night was the first show with them, so that definitely increased their show. In terms of who has kind of more to gain, who I think will be better by Indianapolis, I think that's the Blue Devils. But in terms of who's better right now, who had a better run last night in Stanford, I think that's Santa Clara Vanguard. And I think that's why they won. I think the Blue Devils have things they have to add. I mean, so does Vanguard, so does everybody. But I think the Blue Devils currently will be better when they go to Indianapolis and as the season progresses, compared to Santa Clara Vanguard, who really, they trail in some things. Compared to Friday night, the Blue Devils fell in everything Vanguard gained, but in terms of who I think will win, still I think the Blue Devils are kind of have that upper hand over Vanguard, even though they're still 0.6 down. But Vanguard, who knows? Maybe they can go from now and they can win out. Who knows? So now let's take a look at the scoring recap from DCI West yesterday. So I'm just going to go over world class. If you want to see open class, you can go to DCI.org and view the recap there. But in world class, here's how Vanguard won yesterday. They won G1, they won G2, so they won overall general effect 29.3 to 28.9. That's 4/10. 4/10 that the Blue Devils have to make up somewhere else. So then we go to visual proficiency. Vanguard's first, 14.4 to 14.2. Visual analysis is one of the places where the Blue Devils did win, 14.7 to 14.5. And then color guard, Vanguard had this one on Friday night. The Blue Devils win it last night, 14.6 to 14.5. So an overall visual, kind of a mixed sheet there. Blue Devils 21.75, Vanguard 21.7. So a mere 0.05 Vanguards away from the Blue Devils in visual. That's something they can probably make up somewhere else, like they did in general effect. Then in music and brass, Vanguard won that on Friday night. They continued to win last night, 14.5 to 14.4 there. Music analysis, first place, 14.4 to 14.2, and in percussion, Vanguard strong suit always 14.5 to 14.3. Overall music, Vanguard with a 21.7 to the Blue Devils 21.45. And that is where you get the 72.7 for Vanguard and the 72.1 for the Blue Devils. As you kind of look down the scoring sheet, the Blue Knights, okay, they were third. the Blue Knights kind of are in third. They're not going to fall down where the Mandarins and Academy and Troopers are, but they're probably not going to gain up, at least right now, where the Blue Devils and Vanguard are. So Blue Knights they're in third. Then Mandarins and Academy and Troopers they're all going to jostle for a spot in finals when we get later down the road. We're going to take a look at the leaderboard as it stands right now. The Mandarins are in, and I think the Academy are right there looking in. And as I show you what else happened last night, I think it will show what position the Mandarins and Academy are in come August, really. Next up, Akron, Ohio, and Innovations in Brass. This one also streamed live on Flow Marching last night. World Class was the only class there. Bluecoats get first place. They gain to 1 point over Carolina Crown. Bluecoats 71.6 to Crown 70.6. The Cadets debuted their show. They are 1.2 ahead of Phantom Regiment, even though I also saw them scoring 67 on something else. So somewhere between 66.9 and 67. That's where the Cadets are. So Phantom, a good night, only 1.2 off of the Cadets. Then Crossman 5th with a 63.85 and Genesis with a 55.45. But I think the most notable thing from this show is that the Bluecoats gained that lead to 1 whole point. Now let's take a look at the scoring recap from last night's show, Innovations in Brass, Akron. The Bluecoats, as I said, they gained to a whole point. So how'd they do that? In general effect, they won by almost a point. 9/10, 29.3 to 28.4. That is somewhere where the Bluecoats are very strong, and I think Crown is kind of weak there. Visual proficiency, Bluecoats first. Visual analysis, that's one of those areas where Crown got the upper hand, 13.8 to 13.6. And in color guard, the Bluecoats won that 14.3 to 14 even. 21.15 was the Bluecoats' overall visual score. Carolina Crown gets a 20.95. Then in brass, we always know what Crown's strong suit is, and that's in brass. Crown 14.1, the Bluecoats 13.8. That's 3/10 right there. Music analysis, Bluecoats win that one. And in percussion, Crown's kind of got that figured out this year, 14.3 to 14 even, so another 3/10 victory for them. Overall music, Crown wins by a 10th, 21.25 to 21.15. But the Bluecoats get the overall show victory. Another little thing I just want to show or tell is the Cadets and Phantom Regiment. How close are they? In music, Phantom got third, 20 even to a 19.9. And in the big captions in music, brass, Phantom gets third, and in percussion, Phantom gets third. And then in visual, the Cadets got all threes there, so they're solid over Phantom there. Phantom actually fell down below the Crossman in visual proficiency and visual analysis, but picked that back up in color guard. So actually, they do get fourth in visual. And then over in general effect, the Cadets were third, Phantom fourth, Crossman fifth, but Phantom did win over the general effect 2 judge. They were third over the Cadets fourth, but then they fell down in general effect 1, which is why they couldn't quite pull off that third place finish. In general effect 1, it was Cadets 3, Crossman 4, Phantom 5. Then the last DCI show last night was in Whitewater, Wisconsin, the Whitewater Classic. 1 open class score there. The Colt Cadets got a 46.4. Then in World Class, the Cavaliers 70.75. They won this show. Boston Crusaders second with a 69.4. Blue Stars get third with a 63.8. The Madison Scouts in their season debut get a 61.45, just 0.25 away from the Colts, who have a 61.2. Pioneer with a 49.9. Now, something to point out, I want to point this out. Colts and Madison. The Colts are right there. The Colts are another corps looking to take a finalist spot this year. You've got the Colts, you've got Academy, you got the Mandarins, you got Spirit, many others, Troopers, they're all there. And Madison's trying to retain a finalist spot, but by coming just 0.25 from the Colts, that's not looking very well to start the season. Now, when we see everybody on the same sheets kind of thing as the season progresses and we get to San Antonio where everybody is, that's really when we can make this fair judgment. All right, now let's talk about the scoring recap for the Whitewater Classic last night. The Cavaliers, practically won everything except color guard. That's the only thing the Boston Crusaders got over the Cavaliers. There were a few twos across the board on the judging sheet, but no totals were 2 for the Cavaliers other than color guard. So Boston, they get solid second. Let's break down that Madison Scouts Colts battle, though. General effects, Madison 4th, Colts 5th. So then we go over to visual. That's where the Madison Scouts lose a few points. The Colts get 4th, Madison gets 5th. Colts an 18.55, Madison an 18.4. Then in music, Madison Scouts got back over the Colts with an 18.45 to an 18.15. So you can kind of see where that victory over the Colts is coming for the Madison Scouts, but you can also tell by just being 0.25 away from the Colts that they've got stuff to gain, and the Colts also have stuff to gain. And really, it's really close right now. We can't judge, oh, who's going to make finals? I think the Mandarins are better than the Madison Scouts. Okay, they might be, but we can't tell that really until San Antonio. So who's the big winner from Whitewater? I'd probably say that might be Boston gaining a little bit on the Cavaliers, or maybe that could be the Colts coming out strong, seeing how good you are compared to a finalist corps. And lastly, last night was Sounds on the Susquehanna DCA show in Milton, Pennsylvania. The Erie Thunderbirds claimed first place in A class. They were the only A class corps there, but they had 57.4. Then in open class, remember A class is kind of like the open class equivalent to DCI, where open class in DCA is kind of like the world class in DCI. So then the Buccaneers, they got first in open class with a 76.2. Cadets 2 were second with a 70.65, but they also were issued a 2.8 point penalty, so they were probably just a little bit closer to the Buccaneers than they are with that penalty. The White Sabres were third with a 70.2, and Fusion Corps was fourth with a 68.15, but they also had a 2.6 penalty. They were actually above White Sabres if you take that penalty away. And lastly, before we talk about tonight, let's go over the scoring recap from Sounds on the Susquehanna last night in DCA. So in A class, the Erie Thunderbirds, only corps there, not really going to go over anything there. But over on the open class side, let's kind of go over where everything was. So visual ensemble, in visual, Buccaneers first, Fusion Corps second, then Cadets 2, White Sabres. Then in color guard, it was Fusion, Buccaneers, Cadets 2, White Sabres. Overall visual, Buccaneers went. Brass, the Buccaneers, they really just went in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Buccaneers, Cadets 2, White Sabres, Fusion Corps. In percussion, same deal, and music ensemble, so same thing in music. Nothing really to go over there. Effect, another strong place for the Fusion Corps. Visual effect, Buccaneers, Fusion, Cadets 2, White Sabres, and then music effect, Cadets 2 got the win in this one over the Buccaneers. They were second. Third was the White Sabres. Fourth was Fusion Corps. Overall subtotals, which is that total before that penalty, 76.2 for the Buccaneers, 73.45 for Cadets 2, 70.2 for White Sabres, and 70.75 for Fusion Corps. So Fusion, as I said, would actually go ahead of the White Sabres there. Now let's take a look at the world-class leaderboard after last night. You can view this on drumcorpscentral.weebly.com if you'd like to follow along. or you can just listen to me read it and analyze it here. So we've had 18 corps out of the 24 world-class corps compete so far. Here, we obviously can't make any judgments to San Antonio when they're all being judged by the same judges. But let's just take a look at what it's like right now. So Santa Clara Vanguard, they're at the top. Blue Devils second, Blue Coats third, Cavaliers fourth, Crown fifth. The Blue Knights would currently be ahead of the Cadets right now, a 67.05 for the Blue Knights, a 67 even for the Cadets. But I want to focus more on down here near the bubble, if you will, between out of finals and in finals. I'm going to start with Phantom in 9th place. They're 2.5 points in currently with a 65.7. The Mandarins would be 10th, 1.55 away from that bubble. Then the Crossmen and Blue Stars. The Crossmen will be 11th, Blue Stars 12th. Crossmen 0.65 to the good side, Blue Stars 0.6 to the good side. Then you get down where you don't want to be right now. The Academy, Madison Scouts, Colts, all within 3 points of being in finals. Obviously, some scores are inflated, some aren't. So the Academy, right now, just 0.6 away from returning to finals this year. Madison Scouts and Colts, as I was talking about, that's really close. We obviously can't make any judgment to San Antonio, but I just want to point this out right now, as we've had a decent number of world-class corps compete already. Now let's take a look at tonight's shows for Sunday, June 24th, 2018. First up, Michigan City, Indiana for a pageant of drums. 7 o'clock, all these times are Central Time. So 7 o'clock, welcome and national anthem. 7:10, open class, Colt Cadets, Dubuque, Iowa. They're from 7:28, world class, Pioneer, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Then you can see the rest here. Just some battles, if you will, to watch out for. Cavaliers, can they maintain that lead over Boston? The Cadets, they're going to try to sneak up closer to these two and make sure that they have a good enough distance on the Blue Stars. How are the Colts going to compare to the Blue Stars? Can Genesis pull away maybe 10 points away from Pioneer? And where can the Colt Cadets compare to some of these world-class corps? That's what to look at here at this show. Few things to note for this one. Ames Field, Michigan City, Indiana. It's the site of Open Class Championships in August. There's your weather forecast for tonight. Looking pretty good. Mostly sunny, 70 degrees, down to 65, and partly cloudy as the night goes on. Now, Sacramento, California, and the Moonlight Classic. This also takes place tonight. I'm not going to go over a lot here. You can see them all the lineup and times here. I'm not going to go over a lot because it's the same lineup that was at Stanford last night. Can Vanguard keep that lead over the Blue Devils? Will the Academy edge closer to the Mandarins? Can Vanguard Cadets maybe overtake Blue Devils B? Can Blue Devils B stretch that lead out over Vanguard Cadets? Some things to look at here, but it's the same kind of lineup, same corps as last night in Stanford. A few things to note for this show. Hughes Stadium in Sacramento. There's your weather forecast. There is a red flag advisory or warning in effect. Not like that has any bearing on the competition tonight in Sacramento, but that's just to note. So sunny to, so a pretty good night to have two drum corps shows in Michigan City and Sacramento. The weather looks fantastic. And lastly, before I go, a few things. Make sure you're visiting drumcorpscentral.weebly.com to find all the latest updates, leaderboards, show titles, and uniform updates, and scores and schedule can all be found there for DCI and DCA. And you can also view this podcast there. Twitter and Instagram at Drum Corps Geek, and YouTube. Drum Corps Central is the page to subscribe to on there. So we'll be back tomorrow recapping the two shows tonight and looking ahead tomorrow night at the show tomorrow night in Mason, Ohio. So thanks for watching today. I know it's been a bit long. It'll be shorter tomorrow, but thank you for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.